behind me but we see a Cadillac Escalade or a Ford Escalade. I can't name what cars that is, but you see a large black SUV behind me. We have two vans behind me. The two Sprinter vans are obviously going to be holding in the Combs family. And all I can see right now, Chris, is just a crowd of people, both press and the public, just crowding around. Their cell phones are out, their cameras are out. Some people are standing on what looks to be ladders, or at least kind of those metal barricades. And I see obviously some in security, some even kind of standing in the roadway. I hope they're not necessarily blocking any traffic, but I did hear an audible kind of exclaim when the family did come out. Obviously, everybody who's watching at home, Sean Combs is not coming outside of the courtroom at this moment right now. We do not see him or anything like that. He's still back in a holding cell while both sides kind of work out what they're going to be saying in their arguments later today about Sean Combs' bail application. But from what I could see, the SUV, the Sprinter van, it's crowded. It is a whole bunch of people really probably trying to get a glimpse of the Combs family, get their reaction after this verdict was read out loud today. And so it's really kind of a pretty packed scene outside there, as people are just waiting to see what the family's reaction is, as they are pretty pleased with today's verdict. Obviously, they would have liked probably for him to be acquitted on all the counts, but in terms
Chris,
of just the verdict that was rendered today, it seems like the family is pretty pleased.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, Chris, I was just going to say that I think the answer to your question about why there's not this sort of groundswell of support out there is because he's admitting, his lawyer's admitting he did bad things, right? This isn't one of these cases. This isn't one of these cases where it's a question of did he do it or didn't he do it? We know he did it. We know he did really bad things here. The question is, did those really bad things fall into the legal definition of sex trafficking or racketeering? And the jury believes the answer is no. But that doesn't mean that he's going to get the kind of groundswell of support that someone who people believe is literally innocent, falsely accused, might get in a different kind of case.
And you've even seen, and Dan, I know you covered the OJ trial. I mean, OJ Simpson found not guilty, but no one up until his death had, for the most part, pretty glowing things to say about OJ Simpson in hindsight of how that played out, even though there was a not guilty verdict. I'm just thinking of OJ. I think of Johnny Cochran, one of the great defenses of all time. As you've covered a lot of high profile cases, where does the defense that Sean Combs got in this case rank?
Well, look, it was a very good defense, but they also had good legal arguments to make. I mean, they had the fact that Cassie and Jane were in these long-term relationships with him. They had the text messages, which were very positive and at times glowing and loving, which I think helped him a lot. You had the fact that racketeering is a complicated case where you need more than one person, you need more than one crime, et cetera. So it's not really quite apples to apples, right? In a murder case as you had here.
And then just lastly,
Chris. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll let you go. Law and Crime founder and CEO Dan Abrams. Always good to have you on. Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Great to be here. Elizabeth, great job, guys. Appreciate it.
We appreciate that.
Elizabeth, great coverage in the courtroom too. Love it.
Absolutely. Elizabeth, I will go to you right now. Let's break down these arguments here, because you have Diddy's defense is saying that he should go home today, that this is not guilty on the majority of the counts, the most serious counts. He should walk out of here. The prosecution is not saying that. As you take a live look at the media that is outside of the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. What can we expect today when it comes to the arguments for what happens next to Sean Combs?
Well, what we can expect is that the defense is going to really be adamant about letting Sean Combs out today. He has a lot of money to post what they have been proposed as a $1 million bail, have some of his family members be able to kind of co-sign off that, and for him to just walk out of that courthouse today. I have to kind of really emphasize that today. He did not want to go back to MDC. Whenever the judge was like, I am sure that Sean Combs doesn't want to go back to MDC, he was shaking his head at the defense table. A lot of people were kind of chuckling in the gallery today. But as far as just like the the arguments that the defense initially made. Mark Agnifilo making these arguments as he's his voice was shaking a little bit, probably because he was pretty happy with the verdict. He stood up and he was like, he should be released on conditions. He should be able to return to Star Island in Florida. And Mark Agnifilo saying that we still have his passport, that being Tinny Garagos and Mark Agnifilo, but if he is released on bail conditions, that they should be able to return that passport over to pretrial services. They really were talking about how Sean Combs has been acquitted on sex trafficking, on RICO conspiracy. They even pointed out that his plane is currently in Maui, Hawaii, and that he doesn't have access to his plane. And so Mark Agnifilo says his family can sign onto the bond. Again, they were proposing $1 million. He should be released today. And their proposal was that Sean Combs could walk out of the courtroom and that his travel be limited to Florida, Los Angeles, and New York City. Whereas the government opposed that application. Maureen Comey making these arguments on behalf of the prosecution. The government was saying that Mark Agnifilo was really kind of downplaying Sean Combs' conviction because everyone, just remember, he is still convicted on 2 counts. That, again, we have to kind of emphasize being transportation to engage in prostitution, also known as the Mann Act. The government also pointing out there's been extensive testimony regarding drugs throughout this trial. They also point back to the day of his arrest or the evening of his arrest when he was caught at the hotel with drugs inside his hotel room, red lighting equipment, something that they say kind of alludes to that there might have been a hotel night or a freak off occurring at the time that he was arrested. The prosecution also pointing out that his conviction suggests that he should be detained and that the defendant should be detained until sentencing. And so the judge asked, do you have any kind of case law about someone being held on a Mann Act charge pending sentencing? Maureen Comey says for the most part, it had to relate to children. And so she didn't have anything in relation to adults being transported over state lines. So she's going to look up that case law. Obviously, the defense is going to come back. They're going to have their arguments, probably kind of what we had heard earlier. So they're going to take a few hours to kind of work everything out. They're going to send back a letter or an email, and then we'll all kind of reconvene early this afternoon to discuss what's going to be happening next. But no, Sean Combs did not walk out of that courtroom, everyone. He is still being held inside the courthouse right behind me. It seems like, from what I could tell, his family kind of probably maybe went to go celebrate or something like that, maybe go get a bite to eat, probably really take in that it's possible their father might be coming home today. But again, it's possible. Nothing set in stone just yet.
And we just have a statement coming in from the lawyer for Cassandra Ventura. This is from Doug Wigdor. And he said in a statement, this entire criminal process started when our client, Cassie Ventura, had the courage to file her civil complaint in November 2023. Although the jury did not find Combs guilty of sex trafficking Cassie beyond a reasonable doubt, she paved the way for a jury to find him guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. He continued, this is in a statement that was released to CNN, by coming forward with her experience, Cassie has left an indelible mark on both the entertainment industry and the fight for justice. Exemplary courage throughout this trial and brought attention to the realities of powerful men in orbit and the misconduct that has persisted for decades without repercussion. I remember, Elizabeth, you talking about how emotional it was in the courtroom during Cassie Ventura's testimony. Just what's your reaction when you saw the not guilty verdict related to the charge of sex trafficking?
All right, everybody, we are in the building, man. They have found Diddy guilty on some things, but I don't think Diddy got that RICO.
No, he did not. He did
Good
not.
Lord, man.
Yep, they found him guilty of what was it?
Transportation.
Yeah, transportation, not actual sex trafficking, but transportation for the purpose of prostitution, which I think he may probably beat on appeal.
Right.
You know, and in this day and age, on a case like this, anybody who is, convicted for drug use, y'all can suck my Hippocratic dick because y'all a bunch of liars, man. I mean, they let drug users in the front door and out the back door like it's going out of style. But when it's Diddy, oh my God.
Right. And this seems like new precedents, man. Like you literally convicted a man on these same charges.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, what do you think of the outcome? You have to pardon my
I
voice.
think it was fair.
I think so too. I
I think
think
it was
so
fair.
too. If he would have been convicted of, that bullshit RICO, which we've talked about extensively, which is the government's catch-all whenever they can't make a case to save their ass. If they'd have convicted him of that, I would have been pissed.
Oh my
Not
God.
that I have any love for P. Diddy whatsoever, but you know what it is for me. It's what you can actually prove and
Right.
what bullshit you're going to try to bring in to try to bulldoze somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. What type of pork are you gonna try to put on my sandwich?
Exactly. Exactly. And so, and now it's getting to the point because they just do it with impunity that nobody believes, that somebody's going to get a fair shake when they walk into a courtroom in this country.
Well, not at all. It's all kangaroo court, man.
Yep.
And if I look at this, I'm like the charges and the things that Diddy was accused of literally made R. Kelly's case look weaker than it was before.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I believe that. That is a true statement.
Weaker than I thought. I thought it was weak, but it made it look even worse.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And
Yep.
it's
I
like
agree.
at this point, I feel like that. There needs to be some type of relief for R.
Well,
Kelly. There
they
needs to
need
be
to
relief.
take Brian Steele and Diddy's team over and work R. Kelly's case now.
Yep. Because I think if Brian Steele gets in there and starts
Dude,
looking at that shit, he's going.
he's going to start eviscerating their BS.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't think that if Brian Steele hadn't have went over here to this case, oh, he would have been totally screwed.
I think it would have been different because I mean that dude, and we've said this before, on this show, he has been down this road.
Right. He's the Rico King.
Yeah, seems like anymore, if there is such a thing, I would say that Brian Steele is the dude.
He's the Rico King, man. If you
Yep.
got a Rico, you can get called Brian Steele and go home.
I can see the billboards now.
Like, have you been charged with a Rico,
Yep.
or a Frico, whatever.
Is the government on your dick? Call Brian Steele.
I'm telling you, man, because good Lord, I bet I know R. Kelly's lawyers are watching this. I know he's probably like,
Oh
what?
yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
man, like, oh my God, like he got off for real.
Yep.
But see, and I told you that the major difference is there was no hate train like there was for R. Kelly.
Right.
There,
Right.
this R. Kelly's conviction was a movement.
But I also think that R. Kelly's situation had a part to play in that because look how many people since R. Kelly's conviction have been coming around saying, "Hey, you know what? I've been looking into this a little more and it just doesn't smell right." And in Diddy's case, people are starting to get the smells before the verdict even came out.
Oh man, it was stinking in the high heavens last year when I'm like, oh my God, they raided his house.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What could you possibly, why would he keep any of this stuff in the house?
Well, a lot of people do, and we always ask that same question. Why were you so stupid that you did this or that or the other thing? And so, I don't know. It's a shot in the dark, but
Oh yeah, I mean, but we got people. I'm sure that are going to be freaking out online tonight. Of course, It's
oh,
Wednesday.
yeah.
I'll be going live. We're gonna go ahead and do a little analysis. Let Nisimo go off. We're gonna let that happen tonight. Uh,
Yep.
Because this is one of those moments of legal precedence. It's one of those moments like your Rico shit's not working, and the only reason why it worked for you one time, it's only worked once, is because you played on people's emotions and you did to R. Kelly with that case what they tried to do to Trump politically.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. And with the cases that they brought up against Trump too,
Yeah,
they're just empty shells. That's all it is. And they go out and they judge shop and they try to, and they definitely jury shop, because I was listening to some, not all, of the jury selection for this trial, and man, there is some bullshit shenanigans that goes on in there too.
I mean seriously. I mean there is, and they're sitting up here. I bet you they'll speak to these jurors.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Or we're going to hear from these people.
Yep.
But like I said, at this point, this is a good time. Well, Maybe so. This is a good time to try to make people aware of the R. Kelly, Trump, and everybody aware of this with this verdict.
Yeah.
With this verdict, it's a good. I think that's a win for R. Kelly.
I hope so.
I think so.
Yep.
And,
Maybe it'll have an effect.
and he's actually, as far as he's concerned, actually getting some of the medical help that he needs now. Which is good because now they can't let him die.
Well, yeah, I hope they just get him, into a place where, the government is not able to continue to try to kill him.
Yeah. Jeez, I'm still kind of bugging off of that one, but I'm not absolutely surprised. I mean,
Right.
anything.
I mean, we have seen, all of this lunacy, for the last 4 years of Potato Joe retarded Biden and everything that he's done with the court system. And so, that's why, people are getting it's like gun violence on TV. You're getting desensitized to it because they're doing this, they're cheating every day now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big sleight of hand that goes on. I'm gonna show you this shiny object over here while I'm really doing this over here.
Yeah.
And I think that this may have murdered. This is possibly the death of Rico.
Maybe. I doubt it.
They're gonna try it again, but they're stupid enough. Look, the left wing is stupid enough to try anything over and over again.
Yeah, but now what you got to do is try to get people in Congress together to get rid of Rico. There is not a single swinging dick in all of Congress that has that kind of energy.
I don't think so either. I mean,
they're all useless assholes. They have their priorities, the things that are at the top of their heads, and that's it.
Unless Trump throws an executive order out there.
Right. Well, and I'm not sure how that works either, because if you have a law that is being countered by an executive order, then the law wins.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You got to kind of be real careful. I mean, but I mean, these people do whatever the heck they want to do on their side, but then they break out the rule book when.
Yep. That's exactly what we've been talking about for the last 4 years at least. Actually 6 years, because we started 2 years before Joe Biden was elected. So the last 6 years we've been having that conversation. They pick and choose the rules that they want to follow when they want to follow them, and it's convenient for them.
Right. And it's crazy. Like I said, they literally sacrificed R. Kelly to try to make this go, to make it an easy pill to swallow.
Well, I still think that they sacrificed R. Kelly because of all of the corporate interest in there that is trying to take his money.
Right. And of course they wait until, an election cycle in order to do until an election cycle to do these things, because what that does is that gives, a candidate, for district attorney or whatever, or district judge or whatever, the leverage in order to say, okay, well, I did this. Well, I convicted a sex offender and yada, yada, yada.
Oh, yeah. Part of their resume. Yep.
So that's really, what's happening here. These entertainers are becoming pawns in the political game. And I believe that that's always been the case. I mean, there's no belief about it. They use entertainers for bread and circuses.
Yep.
That's what they do. I mean, it's not beyond the government to use anything for their gain. I mean,
right. And they also want to send that message out there that, hey, if you get out of line, this is what we can do to you. And so it's become the exact opposite of what, America is supposed to be. The government is supposed to work for us. They're trying to turn the government into a boot heel to keep us all under. And that needs to change. The next time, and I don't care what the situation is, or where you're at, if you're standing there walking down the street or whatever, and some fucking cop asks you for an ID, fuck yourself, bitch. I don't work for you.
So at least Trump doesn't have to worry about a Diddy pardon.
Yeah.
Because he's coming home. I think he's coming home today.
You think so?
Yeah,
well,
I mean, The only
Well,
two
I
charges.
think he would because sentencing would be next. And did they even set the sentencing date today?
No,
Okay.
I mean, but they literally should just go ahead and bond him because
Oh
the
yeah.
reason the reason why they kept him in there is because of the RICO charge.
Yep. What was that? Yeah. And that prostitution thing. I mean, shit. Let's go talk to Mr. Chinese spy, sucky guy about transporting for the purposes of prostitution.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
why
So
is that asshole still in
what
Congress?
Diddy needs to do is go home, pack up his shit, and hide because motherfuckers are gonna try to kill him.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah.
He still knows what he knows.
You think? Oh. Yeah, I get the angle you're coming from. I thought you were talking about like maybe pissed off people that he didn't get convicted and thrown away. But yeah, I get where you're coming from.
He still knows what he knows.
Mm-hmm.
Get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
I mean, just get out of Dodge. You got to go. I'm sorry. Get the hell out of Dodge. This is, just like I would say, with R. Kelly, if he was ever get out of jail, man, get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Don't go back to Chicago and be hanging out in Chicago.
Yeah, go hang out. Go hang out somewhere else. Come down, to like the South and hang out with some people that, just want to hang out and don't have an agenda and don't want to use you for something. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Big ups and shout out to Diddy, man. Even though, like I said, I have my preconceived notions
Yeah.
about things that happened in the past. I'm not going to even lie.
Yeah. He's not somebody I'd hang with.
Right. But at the end of the day, I believe that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Right. Yeah. And this bullshit of, indiscriminately breaking the rules and the laws just to get a conviction is starting to piss people off, and they're getting wise to it.
Right. I mean, anytime you have news outlets that were literally screaming to the top of their lungs a month ago, like, what is a one-man RICO? I'm like,
Yeah.
that's exactly what we've been saying.
Yep.
But it's amazing when you look at the people's thought processes and how they think. You got, okay, prime example. We've been going through this situation with the bombing in Iran, okay, where, oh my God, World War III, and he didn't get Congress, and yada yada yada. Why didn't he tell Congress? He didn't tell you all 2 months ago when he bombed Yemen.
Well, he doesn't have to tell them anything.
Right.
That's
what I'm saying.
And just because they come out on TV and say, oh, well, it's against the Constitution, does not make it true.
Right. Absolutely doesn't. And the thing of it is, for me, I look at it and I'm like, you weren't concerned about him bombing Yemen. You were more concerned about the fact that your plant, the person that you planted inside of that situation with Pete Hegseth and them, you planted that person and it didn't work out the way that you thought it was. Oh my God, you were worried about the national security threat and not being told about what was going on. You didn't care.
Yeah.
You didn't care, but now all of a sudden you care so much because of the fact that there are interests there.
Exactly, because it works itself to their, or lends itself to their agenda, whatever that may be.
Right. People care about what they care about when they care about it, and you can literally gaslight people into your mode of thinking. But I knew this was not a RICO.
Yeah, look at all those people that are out there, man. That's crazy.
I knew it was not a RICO. I knew you all were pissed. They tried to gaslight you with a scene from the hotel.
Yep.
And just because you saw that, they thought that they could invoke your anger and say, "Oh, he did everything."
Oh yeah. Yep.
And I'm just so glad. I'm just so glad. It gives me hope to know that there are 12 jurors out there that can make a sound decision. Okay, yeah, he gave some hoes a ride.
Yeah.
He drove some hookers around and go sell some ass.
Yep, that's what they were there for. That's the only reason that they were there, is to do that very thing. So. But hey, man, I just wanted to pop in because I saw that this was going down. You can hear, with the weather and everything.
Oh man, it's all good. I'm about to jump off anyway. It's I'm still at work. It's my lunchtime, but I want to make sure that everybody who just came in hit the like, share, subscribe button. Make sure that you tune in tonight as we will address this a little bit further and a little bit more in depth as far as the partial conviction of Diddy and the non-conviction of Rico, and the fact that Kel should be free, his case should be revisited, and Brian still needs to get on the job.
Yep. Hey,
Um,
so hit me up later on, brother, and give me a time. And I've got I got some visitors here for the next couple of weeks, but I will make an effort.
absolutely, man. All right, and we do appreciate you all, of course, for coming over to Provoke Thoughts, man. Tell your friends, tell your mama, and we out of here. All
Peace.
right, peace.